y'all. This is Nothing Lightly. This is me, C's, and I'm back with a special episode. This is an episode where we have our first guest on Nothing Lightly. It's a friend of our show and a friend of mine. I am doing this episode without my sister, Deasia, but I have a special guest. His name is Dominique. He goes by Damo. He's going to give us forewarned insight on OKC, the team that he called or picked 2 years prior. Also, he's going to share with us what he's doing in the basketball world as a coach, as a college coach, as a previous high school coach, and what he's doing in North Carolina. So this is a special conversation. It was almost 2 hours of dialogue, and out of that, we had to break this down. But we're going to start right away talking about SGA, so stay tuned.
We got to talk about SGA, one of the most historic seasons ever. He plays the game the right way. Like, he's the engine of that offense. He's trying to get everybody involved, but also, he can score. And I think one thing that a lot of people, I guess, might not know, you could see it on film, but, like, in person, he is very, very quick. Like, he's very, very quick. He's 6'6", so, like, at the point guard position, like, we talked about TJ being, a little turnover prone in that game, like, you also have to have bigger guards now because the game is like, it's a little bit different. It's an up and down game. You got to be able to defend. So, yeah, I just think the game has evolved for the better. And, like, to kind of switch topics, I just hate the notion of, like, a lot of people saying that, the league is kind of, like, lost or, like, the league is, like, on a decline. I completely disagree. So I'm curious on, like, what you think about that as far as, like, dynasties, super teams, or having like teams that's like balanced, teams that, everybody kind of shares the sugar.
Well, I just think it's different. Things are, of course, changing. Even you look at the NBA draft that just took place, I think that's a different conversation or it's just a different look of how it has been when you have players that are kind of saying, it's like almost the NFL culture. I don't want to play here. But that's not really, you still gotta, if you take everything away, like, this is a life-changing moment and it's a lottery pick. So, I just don't, the culture is changing. But as far as the question, I think the layout of the teams it's not just one franchise player as it used to be. If you go back to the early 2000s or late 2000s, it was still just one franchise player. And then at that point, we started seeing a transition to, like, you'll have three. You'll have those super teams. But now that's like almost every team in the league. I think I can't say that the competition is better because when you look across the league when Allen Iverson was playing, KD, you had the Spurs. All of these teams, they had the talent. A lot of those guys are top 75 players. So you can't say, like, the competition is better now. I just think that the way, maybe it's actually just the organization. They just have more money to spend. It could just be that. But as far as the positions, I think that I don't want the certain positions to disappear. So you got to definitely keep a point guard. Do I say the center? We seeing that they can flip-flop between the 4 and the 5. So that's something that we have seen kind of fade out, and that's fine. But you can't take away the 1 or the 2. To me, you have to have shooters on the court to be successful, and you got to have somebody that's running the show. So it's just a different look. I don't think the league is necessarily better, because it was great then too. It was actually, I would argue to say it was more exciting. And maybe it's just because you're a young kid and, like, it's everything. Like, you kind of only know what you see on TV. You don't know all of this stuff that happens. Like, you can look on your phone and you get an alerts like, this team just traded blah blah blah. Then you didn't have that news or information right away. It can come days later after it happens. So maybe it was just still just being in that fandemonium sensation, I guess, of okay. But now we just had this access. So maybe it's kind of that. I don't know. That's kind of a loaded a loaded answer, I would say.
And I think I'm gonna give you this one too. You got to think about social media. So like it's a double-edged sword. So like with TikTok, Instagram, I mean you could throw Twitter in there. Um, like social media engagement, like people being engaged as far as like we're not even talking about the season. Let's just talk about the finals. Like that's what's gonna make people engage because of course after the games you go in there, you talk, you crack jokes, all of that. So that's the plus. And we didn't have that, right? We watched the games and that was pretty much it. To an extent, I mean, depending on the generation. But like I think the downside of it is that this is a generation that's built off of like highlights. And if your attention span is that small, you're not going to be able to appreciate like the fullness of the game. So I kind of look at it both ways. The one thing I think that is key that I think a lot of people are not aware of, and some people are just now even opening their eyes about it if they care enough, is like just the way the NBA has like changed as far as the financials. So you mentioned as far as like having the money, the second apron. So that second apron, it really penalizes teams from like mortgaging their future and trying to load up and get 2, 3, 4 stars. And like, I honestly like the fact that it forces organizations to be on point where it's like, okay, if you follow the rules, you will be incentivized. Like you will be incentivized for that. And that's why OKC and Indiana ended up in the finals. I think when it comes to like the early 2000s going into like 2010s, like it's star driven. That's what like gets a lot of people's attention. You know these names, you know a Kobe, you know a LeBron, but like now it's just about I felt like it was about the game. Like, okay, cool. You got two organizations that's doing the best to like put a winning team out there. You saw Indiana have a team that really didn't have like a superstar. I'm gonna be honest with you. Like Halliburton is growing, but he's not like that 20-point, 25-point guy. But it was like, they shared the load. And I think even with SGA like being a superstar, like of course OKC, like that's the youngest group we done seen since the Blazers win. So the point I'm trying to make is that I think you still got good, like you got really good basketball for the people that really, really, really just care about the game from a pure standpoint. And from that comes you seeing names and seeing, who you can promote. Like, I mean, we don't got to talk about SGA. Like, I mean, it's pretty obvious. Finals MVP, MVP of the regular season, Western Conference MVP. I mean, top five, one of the most historic seasons ever. But the thing that I'm looking at is perception. Like people that don't really care about the game or people that really don't understand, they can't appreciate that. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of what I'm looking at when I see like, you know, people come out, like, some of the pundits come out and talk about where the league is at. But it's once again, it's very interesting. Like, I heard Cam Johnson, he came out on a podcast and he mentioned that he saw how Indiana was able to match OKC defensively. And I remember like watching one of the games. I think it was game 4 or game 6. I know it was one of the games in India. I think it was 6. And by the way, being at game 6, it was electric. It's different. Home court advantage is real. Like you gotta be there to feel it and know it. But anyway, um,
Going to, what was your fan experience?
uh that was tough. That was tough. So first off, I mean, you don't know, like you just don't know. Like it's one thing if you buy a ticket to a concert and it's like I know I'm gonna see this person, but you buying a ticket to hope you see your team, carry the Larry O'Brien, and like not only you don't see that, but they get 30 ball. Like it was a tough game to experience. Um, I think that the energy in the arena was organic. Like I remember one of the timeouts they showed on the jumbotron Hoosiers, right? And of course Hoosiers, Indiana being a basketball state. And I was, even though I'm rooting for OKC, like I'm taking this in and I'm just like, wow, like this is like genuinely authentic. Like they care about their team just like OKC care about their team. And I was there when KD came back. So to when KD came back as a Warrior, I was in Oklahoma City to feel that. So I just think the experience of like just the finals, but then like game 6 and like Siakam punched J Dub, like that was tough. They hit a couple buzzer beaters. Like if you're a fan of the game or you just trying to like understand the game, like that was probably the perfect game to go to. I'll be honest with you. I just happened to be on the wrong side of it, but I mean that's a part of being a true fan. Like you got to be able to sit through that. So
Well, how was you was in Indiana, and that's kind of one of them cities. Well, cities that you kind of some people might not be want to be caught up over in that them parts. How was your experience? You was an opposer to that organization, and I mean, I can imagine the playoffs is different, so it's fine to go to a game, and that's probably for some people once in a lifetime. Like you just got to experience it going to an NBA game, but I can't imagine the playoffs.
Oh, it was rocking. They did so. There was a point where they had security around the like arena. I've never seen that before, and you had to show your ticket just to even being around, just to even be around the arena. And like, I remember walking up to the doors, and mind you, everybody is a little different everywhere. So I mean, you know how we move in Chicago, like you gotta go. So I'm just like moving through the crowd. Everybody was just kind of like standing still, and I didn't get into it with like an older gentleman, but he kind of like took offense to me, quote unquote, cutting the line. And I'm just like, y'all not walking. Like, it's so much space here. Like, everybody should be walking towards the door to get in. So that was my first, like, I guess that was my first taste of like actually engaging with an Indiana fan. But I'm gonna be honest with you, like, I wasn't even tripping on them. I was actually surprised by like how many OKC fans was in there. And I'm talking real legit OKC fans. Like, one guy came in from Australia. Um, reporter Nick Gallo was in there. I got a chance to chop it up with him. Uh, it was lit. I'm not gonna lie. It was lit for sure. Even just flying in, and I'm wearing an OKC hat, I'm wearing a Shea jersey. But it's funny because like it's old high school jersey, so the colors was like navy blue and yellow. So some people was looking like some OKC fans was looking like, hold on, you kind of confused me for a minute, but it was a vibe. It was a vibe. I wasn't worried about nobody putting their hands on me because I mean, let's be real. Like, come on now. But it was an experience for sure. Good experience.
Shoot some questions about OKC. You already kind of talked about like you saw this going this way. What did you say? 2023, 2 to 3 years ago. But you mentioned Sam Presti or their GM. What do you think like his contributions are for forming this team? And I'm gonna ask you that because when I look at this team now, I won't say, and maybe I missed this. I missed this all year, and I'm kind of like, dang. I'm at this point. I compare this team to the Warriors when they was on a dynasty run. So, what is your thoughts on that too? But start off with Sam Presti, their GM. Do you think he contributed a lot as far as getting these guys and these guys, Shea, Jalen, Shet, they can grow just like we saw with the Warriors team when it was Steph, Clay, and Draymond. Do you kind of see the same thing happening here?
I definitely see the same thing, and I'm gonna tell you why. So I had a older coach tell me. He said that you know players win games, but like athletic directors and the people up top win championships. And he pointed that out when Calipari left Kentucky and went to Arkansas. And I sat there and I actually like heard the press conference as far as Calipari coming. So when it comes to Sam Presti, like everybody in the OKC community, like I'm in the Facebook group, they added me or whatever, and like everybody loves Presti because like he wants to win. And like if you have a GM that only wants to have like money coming in or they just want to make the playoffs, like for example, Reinsdorf with the Bulls, like and him being the owner is a trickle down. So I think Presti is probably like, if not over Shea, like equal as far as like OKC getting the ring. Um, I remember when they traded for Hardenstein and Caruso. I remember going to one of my group chats, and this was before they traded for him. I said they need a big. Like, they definitely need a big. They got Hardenstein, they got Caruso, and I was like trying to tell everybody, like, they got the pieces they need, but these weren't pieces that people was looking at individually like, oh my God, that's a 15-point score. Oh my God, Hardenstein is like Dennis Rodman. But ultimately, when you talk about roster construction, like, those was the gaps that they needed. The thing is, people aren't really watching. Like, people really don't know what's going on. So they finding out in real time when I'm sitting here looking at the moves like, oh, that makes sense. But I mean, I think that comes with just like, loving the game. Um, Another thing with Presti, I mean, even right now, like, he re-signed today. Like, he re-signed Jay Will. My homie G, he from Germany, but he grew up with one of the guys that actually play on OKC. He actually grew up with Mitchell, so he got re-signed. So they trying to bring their guys back. And like I said, if you don't got a GM or you don't got people in the organization that want to win, it's gonna show. It's gonna show easy.
Yeah, I think that this is one of those seasons. If you look across the league, where you kind of just seeing like these organizations, they making moves, because even if you like look at what happened to Denver just a few games before they was in the playoffs, they lose their coach, who was the only coach in their franchise to get them a championship. But it's like, look at the power of the GMs, look at the power of the owners. So I think that this was a season where we saw a lot of movement in real time during the season. But then if you just kind of stay with it and like take a step back and look what OKC did. So it's a lot of teams that I can say just off the bat that can use GMs like that. And you mentioned the Bulls a little bit ago, and that's always a conversation in Chicago, like what's going on with this organization. When you do need people in the front office that are concerned about winning, and I think it's a difference with winning and just being able to sell out arenas, because the Bulls can always sell out an arena even if they have a losing season. It's never like, have you ever been in there when it's like nobody in the stadium? I've never been.
Right? No, that's on point.
But when you have GMs like this that are concerned about winning and also moving the pieces to win a championship, and you don't got to go get no veteran, you don't got to go get the KD, you don't got to go get the LeBron to make this happen. So this is kind of interesting here.
I agree. And let's just talk about New York, like, and Dawn Staley, like, being
Yeah.
and entertaining her to be like the next head coach. I'm gonna be honest with you, that would be interesting. That'll be very, very interesting. I don't like how New York let go of Tibbs. Like you said, we could see certain teams trying to make moves in the front office, but like, if Don Staley was to step into that role, I mean, it's groundbreaking, honestly. And like, I'm a fair guy. I'm not sexist, so to see a woman in that position, like, it'll be cold to me, especially a black woman. Cold for sure.
Yeah, it's like when I seen that headline, it just gave me chills. But the thing I like about her is she humble to say, I want to help develop. Like, it's all about her making the biggest impact in basketball for young women or people that have this dream to go to the next level. And she understands that college, like, this is where she can make that impact, right? But it just gives me chills that they're even considering her, that she has this opportunity and she will be a great option for that team. Now, I will say this with Tibbs, I how can you say that he wasn't successful? He still went to the semifinals of the East, so I just kind of don't understand that with the Knicks. Maybe they just want to toss everything up. I really don't understand that. But for them to now look and add Don Staley to this conversation, this changes everything for women, and this adds into the collective conversation. When you talk about women across the aisle in the WNBA that's not being paid, well, like, she's opening that door for just women in general in sports, whatever women are doing in sports, to have that opportunity to be paid more, and just to get that shot. We don't even get a fair shot, and I love the fact that she is a black woman, so that we can just hang our hats in, because who could have ever seen something like that?
Yeah, it's definitely groundbreaking. I mean, I remember when Becky Hammon first came with the Spurs, and like I think we see it way more often now. Like we see a lot of females on the bench as assistants. So I mean, it's a different dynamic for sure. Definitely a different dynamic. I think it takes a special woman, but I'm never gonna say like a woman couldn't do it. You know what I'm saying? I mean, look at Gino. Look at Gino Ariema, like and his pedigree on the women's side. Because it's let's just talk the difference, right? There is clearly a difference. First off, you know how they say like what men are from Mars, women are from like Venus or whatever, but or however you say it, but like just on the court, like there is clearly a difference. And I think that even when we talk about like the WNBA, and I'm gonna go on record by saying like, yeah, the WNBA trying to fight for revenue and all of that, but if we just talking about the game, like it's cold. Like you gotta appreciate it. And I think with my experience, just like training different girls, I never coached like live games with girls, but just training females, like it is different. It's different. I'm gonna be honest with you, that has probably been the most fun I ever had. With males or with boys, I gotta be real, like I gotta be stern, I gotta be authoritative. Like it's no nonsense. Yeah, we have fun every now and then, but like I felt like training girls when I was in Maryland, like it was a lot of fun. Cause that's the game is supposed to be fun. So it was fun training them. And like I just remember after like all of the training sessions, they came back and made me brownies. I will never forget that in my life. So shout out to all the women in sports. Shout out to all the women like, trying to like coach and make a name for themselves for real.
Yeah, I think that, and I'm gonna just use basketball, that it's pure for women, like young girls. Look at that NBA draft. We kind of highlighted on that, but that's totally different when you watch the WNBA draft. It was not the same complaining, if we want to say that. They were not divas. We can use that word too. None of them were. Some of them was drafted and they not even playing for the teams that they were drafted by. That's how real
Right.
it is. So it's just more pure. Like this is not, I can't take this lightly. I really can't, like, I can't think that I deserve this. I have to earn it. That's what the conversation to me is for women. That's the difference. When guys, and I'm not trying to say that it ain't something that we've seen some of the best athletes to ever play. I think LeBron arguably is the greatest athlete ever across any sport. But for basketball, we just have to work harder to get none of what men have. So that's why I just kind of like this conversation about Don Staley and just how basketball is looked at for women. We don't have the miles y'all have. We barely have an inch. That's how I look at it.
And let me ask this idea. I want to ask you about this idea. Like I've been in the like I done play pickup and girls will come in the gym and they'll play. Like if you could play, you can play. So
Yeah.
let's get that clear. What do you think about a type of league where it's co-ed, where you got it might be a rule. It got to be one girl on the floor, or it got to be two girls on the floor at all time, and then like the girls match up, the guys match up. Like, what? How do you think that'll look?
I think that'd be great. I couldn't see that being a professional league, but maybe it could be something like what Ice Cube is doing with a 3-on-3. I think that could bring, or like an unrivaled, if they did something like that in between a season, because in the summer you kind of missing basketball. I mean, I know they need a break. We was talking about the 80 game season. That is long. And maybe it's just college or something like the Olympics, a 3-on-3. I think it'll boost the popularity of like the WNBA or the professional leagues. And then it can kind of help because if you have NBA players and they're not for the ones to talk about basketball for women, they always support it. It's always, and this is just my opinion of, it's always people that's outside of the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
They understand like they legit, they can play. Some of them probably can do they can maybe shoot better than me. They're never the ones. It's just like outside fans. It's just like it could be people that never been a part of basketball and no way have you ever played. They're the ones that's kind of talking down about
They're
women.
they're ignorant. I
Yeah,
mean, the definition of ignorant is without knowledge. So
yeah, it's always them. So if you can kind of have a league, it don't have to be a professional. It could just be just something maybe city by city to just make money. If you did have a former pro or somebody or a college player and you have some women just I think yeah, that'll be great. Unrivaled saw a lot of success. So anything 3-on-3, they prove that people gonna watch women's basketball anyway. Like true fans are gonna watch it. So if you just add a guy, a couple of guys in the mix, it will be exciting. But don't expect a girl, most women, to be playing above the rim. That's not what you're gonna get. You just gonna expect good basketball.
of course, of course, of course. I done seen people talk about lowering the rims, make it 9-5, make it 9. No, keep it at 10.
Don't
At the end of the day, y'all already playing with a ball that's smaller. You know what I'm saying? So
ever lower a rim. That's not
that's wild.
no. It's that's not even. I don't think most. If we could dunk, most girls wouldn't want to dunk. No, don't lower the rim because then it changes the entire shot. That's not even basketball. No, don't do that.
Nah, I feel that. So I do got a question, and I'm very, very curious on your take about it. I think it's a lot of focus on the physical side, like how do we get better, like skills training, X and O's. But like, what about the mental side? Like, do you think, or what's your understanding of like, I guess, mental performance and like sports psychology being in a mix with athletes? Like, I'm curious on your take about it.
I think that's important. When we think about some of these more physical sports, when we talk about boxing, football, all of that, they kind of it's known that football, some players just never walk away as the same person after playing for a certain amount of years. But if you can kind of add some a psychologist or somebody, it could be a therapist. If it's like this is a lane that we got to really tap into. I think that we'll see a lot less injuries or a lot less catastrophe after people walk away from these sports. And
That's
then
real.
just on a like it could just be like me and you. How do you deal with like for me, I'm gonna just say me. How do I deal with 10 years later? Like I'm not gonna be able to play basketball at the level that
Hmm.
like it's just that. Like how do I separate myself from it's just something I did, it's something I do, but it's not who I am. So that conversation is important as well. And all of this is that mental piece that yeah, sports needs. I think if it's ever something like if it's ever something that it lacks, it is that. And we need to start having these conversations just like we are now because it's important. I think you see a lot of crash out with athletes, especially if you look at boxing, some of the decisions they make is just because of the pressure they're under.
Hmm.
What if they talk? They just talking about. I don't know if you know the guys, the family. I forget their names. They just had a big fight. All three of them fought, and then one of them after the fight he lost. Two of them end up going and fighting somebody else, a competitor. I don't know if you know their names. I forget, but they some big fighters. So like, how can you make them type of decisions? It's just we need people to say, okay, let's think about this. Mentally, where are you at right now? How can you handle this? Because that factored in because he lost and only one brother won. Do you know who I'm talking about?
It's not ringing the bell, specifically, but I could follow you. I definitely could follow what you're saying.
Yeah,
Um,
that type of thing. It's kind of like this is extreme, but we see this crash out even in basketball. You see it throughout the season. Is it more of a mental thing when you see some players they cannot get through? I think maybe even Ben Simmons. Why wasn't he playing all them years? It
yeah,
could.
I'm telling you, I'm telling you that was. that was straight up mental. Like when everybody, you got to think about the responses on social media of him, going through a lot of, I'm trying to tailor my words, but like, he was going through a lot of, how do I explain it? It was dragging his name through the mud. I'll say that, and mildly. And
Yeah.
like, that's enough to challenge somebody's psyche, not taking certain shots and holding back. So I think that like sports psychology is something that is evolving big time. Just like mental health is evolving, sports psychology definitely is evolving. And like, I want to just take the time to kind of open up on like what that looks like because, eventually I will be certified with that. Um, I think it is a difference between like a clinical psychologist and you're a like mental coach or like a performance coach. Like a performance coach is definitely going to be able to like help you and give you tools and skills that you can use that's going to help you perform. But also I think there is a link to holistically there is a link where athletes are so focused on performing, so focused on winning, executing, and their identity starts to get warped by that. So whether they lose or whether they done, like they go through what they go through. So I think the biggest thing with that field is that you're going to have people that they are licensed to operate in a clinical setting, right? So can diagnose depression and all of that and deal with it. But on the other hand, they will be able to work with athletes. On my end, I think I would do both, but if I had like a choice, I build up my clientele and just deal with athletes like specifically. Um, and that kind of give me like some flexibility too, as far as like what I want to do. Like I could definitely be an athletic director. I can coach. I mean, I still could play if I really wanted to, but I think with that side, I would be in a space where I could be a consultant, where I could work with like different teams. And the biggest thing is really working with the kids. Like, I use Antonio Brown, and I hate to say it like this. This might come off pretty bad, but like the damage is done with Antonio Brown. Like he had his concussions, he went through his injuries, and like unfortunately, a lot of brain trauma that we go through. Sometimes it is hard. I'm not gonna say it's impossible, but it's hard to be reversed. So you see the symptoms of him, being irrational and just having little to no like, his behavior socially is kind of wild. I find it funny, but it's it's kind of wild. But um, I think the awareness, like, if you have sports psychologists, let's just say in the realm of football and NFL, it'd be CFL, it'd be college football, whatever. Like you can understand those signs and what the behavior looks like and understand like the implications biologically. Um, and that's not even just with football. It's always going to be specific to each sport. But like I said, in a general sense, sports psychology is definitely like on the up and up. So I think we got to bring awareness to that.
Track. That was the most anxiety that I've ever felt just in the blocks. I mean, and I don't even know if it was that bad. Like somebody probably would have recommended that I shouldn't be doing this because that's how bad it was. But
Yeah.
I might have needed that person, as a young kid or as a teenager, to say, this is not healthy for you. Because what happened anyway is that I just end up stepping away from it. And I never want to be back in the blocks. Like, I never want to feel that type of pressure or anxiety. But what if somebody could recognize that? Because you don't know what's the effects. I don't know what's the effects of that 20 years from now. I really don't know. But a part of me is still like dealing with it because as I'm even coaching my own athletes in track, I get that same, it's not the same, but I have some of that feeling of, wow, I can't imagine the pressure that they're under because that was me. So I think you going into that, it's definitely needed. And like you said, it's important at the young age, at youth, and that's when it's most important because if you can catch it early or you have some tools of how to deal with it, then as you grow in your sport, It just helps you become more successful or be able to endure it.
Right. That's real. And like we've all felt nervous. Like I ain't gonna lie, if you've never felt nervous, something's wrong with you. You ain't care. So I feel where you're coming from. I've had games where like I was nervous and then as soon as I step on the court, I got it out. Or it took a little longer for me to shake it off. Like I just remember the very first time playing in like in front of a super big crowd was the difference. So like the nerves before that game was crazy. But on the flip side, I think a lot of the experiences that we go through as athletes, they really help us be better humans. Like if you could handle, a certain amount of anxiety, I think, the feels that we go into afterwards, we could deal with. But I do want to talk about like one of the concepts. I think if I was to sit down and talk with like a younger seer or a younger Damo, like, you know, in layman's terms, everybody has a zone that they could feel comfortable in, but then they're ready to go, right? And I think a lot of people don't know what they need to do in order to get into that zone. Um, People throw around this word of like flow state, and it's a little similar to a flow state. But this zone is where like as an athlete, you ready to go, like you have enough arousal. Like some people be like, oh, I'm not gonna play, like they're not aroused, right? But then some people are so aroused or so ready to go, like you can have an NBA player that's they know they need to play well, and then they shoot bad because they're just so aroused, right? It was a video that I saw a couple days ago. It was one of the guys he was shooting for the draft workout, and he just couldn't hit. And I was just looking at it like he just can't hit. Like I can imagine, how you feel like just doing that workout with those cameras, and that really that always impacts somebody's performance. Like if you're not aroused, you're gonna hold back. You might not perform the best. If you find that sweet spot, like let's just talk on the track level. Like you find that sweet spot, you're gonna perform well. You'll run well. And I think there's so many things that we can do, to like tailor that, especially working with like a performance coach, like getting that feedback and just monitoring, like just like how we do our health, like how you might monitor somebody's blood pressure. Like you monitor, okay, well, how did I feel in that situation? What did I do pregame? Did I have any type of routine? Did the routine help? What music did I listen to? Like you got people that, they want to be pumped up. You got people that need to relax and just breathe. So I think that's the very interesting part of sports psychology. Like how do you deal with anxiety and how do you, tailor your mind to be able to go through those moments?
I think when I was, as you mentioned, like a younger me, it's different for track and basketball. I had a different approach. Basketball was more natural for me. Like it was more second nature in a way because I had been doing it and I had been doing it a little longer. I was doing them both very young. Playing basketball since 5, maybe running for real since like 8 years old. But it was more of a natural, peaceful thing. Like this is comfort. So I didn't have those moments of anxiety. I just think maybe it was more preparation. Like I was prepared. Even if it was a tough game, I was prepared for that. Now track, I've ran in some big and some huge meets where it's no, even if you prepare for this one race for weeks or months, it's nothing like you by yourself in them blocks. And imagine a 8-year-old me, thousands of fans. They not necessarily just cheering; they're cheering for everybody, right?
Right.
You got parents or loved ones cheering for all these kids, and I didn't recognize then like they're just a kid too on this line with me. I didn't even worry about that though. It was just like the mountain is me. Like I'm afraid of myself.
Yep.
Afraid of what this is going to feel to my body. And maybe that was the difference with basketball. It was never any pain I was worried about with my body. But for track, I knew like this race was going to test my lungs, that I'm not ready
Mm.
for this. So I'm not looking for this feeling. So I think in track, what made me perform better was the bigger the stage. Even though the anxiety was much worse, the bigger the meet was, the better I performed. Like you have to rise to the occasion. But
Yep.
I play at games where this can be the biggest game of the season or the biggest game I'm gonna play, and maybe my shot just isn't falling.
Yep.
And it's just like a difference. But track, 9 times out of 10, when it's big, I'ma show up because I have to. Like it's nothing like that feeling when you can feel somebody on your heels. In the race of my that I ran was the hardest race there is. So it wasn't like this is fun for me. If I was running a 100, it would be easy. But I used to run the 400, and I was running that since I was 8 years old. And so you're running a lap full speed, one lap around the track full speed at a sprint is very painful. And a lot of people in track consider it the hardest race. So I just think I rose to the occasion because of the competition around me. But I can't always say that with basketball because you just might have those off games.
Right. So let me ask you this: what about baseball?
Oh, so you heard that
Let
up.
me stop playing. Let me stop playing. Let me stop playing.
Was me having to do it so my parents can, they just wanted to have us with our grandparents over the weekend. So it was something I had to do. I really didn't like it, but it's funny now. I would never go in front of a plate and hit a baseball. I think I'm gonna do that, but I like to watch baseball. I do enjoy baseball, but I'm not playing baseball. And so that was nothing. Yeah, I was very nervous then.
Let me just say this. I remember listening to that episode and you was talking about y'all playing baseball, like y'all transition. And
Yeah,
like I was rolling. Cause
yeah,
y'all got y'all get back.
yeah. Cause we would see DH was right. We would see them same guys. My granddad, he had a league at one of the park districts. Remember that was big back in the 90s or the 2000s. Every park district had their own league. So he had a league, but in the fall and the winter it'll be basketball. In the summer it'll be baseball. So I knew I could get my get back. She was right on that. Like I remember who you are, and now I got you. Because at that age, when you a kid, like, and this is kind of interesting. I think that you just playing, like, nobody really. I'm gonna say it like this, Damo. Don't nobody really understand like this is a girl playing with us. It does
That's true.
that
That's true.
don't really become clear until you maybe like 11 or 12. Like, dang, what is she doing out here?
You just thinking, you just playing, like
Yeah,
you right.
when you like 8 and a little bit younger, you just playing because nobody it's a few that's maybe really good, but it's like everybody's still just having fun. It's so pure. It's just like this is kind of gritty. Nobody really recognizes like let me throw this ball a little softer because she's a girl, or let me just not push her around. She's a girl. That don't really start coming clear. And this is me. Like people didn't really
Mm.
recognize that until I was like 11 or 12. Like, dang, okay. Let's not push them to the ground playing.
Hey, you know what? I can attest to that. This was not on the basketball court, and yeah, I was probably 6 at the time. But I remember I got in trouble because me and my dad we went to Dairy Queen, and they used to have like the little play areas, and I ended up flipping this one girl, and he had to tell me like you can't do that because like I was watching wrestling. So I get what you're saying. Like when you that young, you're not thinking like, oh, this is a girl. Like you just playing. So I get it.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of like the social identity, like the hierarchy of you coming into at that age. You do like, who am I? When you like a preteen, 11 or 12, you start recognizing, but then you recognize like she's in my space, or what is he doing over here? It starts like this is when we kind of separate. But that don't mean, and maybe that's what drives sports at a young age. Like it's just pure. I bet you if you ask maybe like some of your best athletes across all sports. Let's add soccer, volleyball, basketball, softball, baseball. You're going to find, even gymnastics, you're going to find that nobody really cared until a certain age. Like,
Nope.
we all just out here playing and having fun until it starts getting real. But that comes because now when you get 11 or 12, okay, let's make a decision. Are you really gonna keep up with this? You gonna go hard at it? It's like at that point, now are you gonna really do this sport for real?
You start to make that decision, like, do you want to invest? All right, so let me ask this, and I got this a two-part. One of them is like a funny question, but one of them serious. What would you do if you met Draymond Green? I know how you feel about Draymond, but like, what would you do if you met Draymond Green? That's the first question. The second question, I guess, on a more serious note, what would you advise somebody if their team got into a team fight? Like, how do you handle that as a coach?
Okay, Draymond, I see why you asked that. Me in this role, if I'm just myself on my podcast, I will shake his hand. But
We gonna get Draymond on the podcast then. Let's do it.
I will shake his hand. I'll give him a fair shot, and I'll, because I respect his opinion. I just don't like how he carries himself on the court. But that don't mean that I think he's a huge ambassador for basketball, and I think what he has done for a guy in his role, like this is the most. He had like a perfect career almost for. I'm not gonna say that he's not talented because to get in the NBA, you're very talented, right? But I think if you put Draymond on a struggling team or a team that didn't have this type of luck, if we want to just say that, his career could have been a lot different. So he kind of had all the optimal things to go his way, right? I respect that. But the way that he carries himself, though, you just don't have to be that guy. I don't like that. If I want to I want to call a spade a spade. I just don't like that about him. I don't like that you would punch your own teammate. Basketball does need the bad guy sometimes. Somebody got to be the villain. Somebody got to be it, right? Draymond definitely has done a lot of things. For him to jump on somebody while they're down and just jump on them like this a playland. Something is wrong with him. He needs some mental counseling.
I just had to bring it up because I know what we done talked about before with my man Draymond. I love his game, but that boy, wow.
Yeah.
But no, like on a serious note, like if let's say you was coaching a team, or let's say I'm coaching, like how would you move if like your players got into a fight, like an internal fight, or what if like during the game it was a team fight? Like, how do you handle that? Like, how do you address? I think it's obvious, like what you do in front of everybody. Like, you got to break it up and be politically correct. But like in the locker room, when it's just y'all, like how do you address that?
I'm not a proponent of fighting because I feel like we should just be after the goal of playing this sport. I would not support that. So I would be on my players, whatever, male or female. I would be hard on them in the fact that we got to make better decisions. I'm just thinking of the bigger picture. If you're coaching some, and it could be, just say, some teenagers, this spills over to other parts of your life. It's bigger than just what happened out there. This is a moment for you to teach and a moment for you to encourage them to, like, let's look at the choices we just made. Is that the best thing that we could have done by hitting somebody or punching, whatever? Now, to rally around somebody, yeah, you do want them to come together and stick together for a cause, but not the cause of the fight, whether they started or not. It's just something that I will never be in line with. I'm not going to support it. In fact, we about to have some consequences.
I was just gonna say, you handing out suspensions.
Yeah, and I don't know about suspensions, but it's going to be some consequences, whether that's in our practice. Okay, y'all want to fight. So now y'all going to run till y'all change your mindset about fighting because this is not what, as me as a coach, what I'm promoting. I'm promoting just let's win, let's do the job, but let's remain professional. And it's something that I had to learn growing up. Like it's just certain moments I can remember as a young basketball player. It's hard to be on a team. It's hard to be on a team. It's very hard. And you might not like, I might not even like something that my sister did. And I'm definitely going to tell her about it. And sometimes I might feel so strong that I'll tell her on the court. And I had to learn, hey, people are watching you. They're watching you too, how we're
Mhm.
interacting. Just us two, how we're interacting. So you cannot do that. Now imagine a team. You cannot do that. This type of this type of actions, you shouldn't do this between these lines. So you just gotta learn that. And you don't know how somebody else is gonna respond. So you take the first hit, then what? Somebody does something else. So that's kind of why I feel the way about Draymond. In practice, we've seen it. We've seen it in multiple games. He's just a dirty player. I don't agree with it.
Well, let's look at Caitlin Clark's situation, and like I forgot the girl name, but she was standing up for her, and like finally somebody was like standing up for her because everybody was like, you know what I'm saying, just doing dirty things. Like, what you think about that?
Some of them plays was basketball plays. It started off, and then it turned to be like this is out of nowhere, and then that's kind of them feeding into their crowd. It's not a place for that either. It's just the same thing about what Draymond was doing. It's the same thing. I don't support it with Caitlin Clark. And maybe I think some of her fans like, well, she's finally fighting back now. No, she shouldn't be doing anything at all because it's a lot of young girls watching her. So we see
That's real.
at the professional level. Now you start seeing girls in middle school or high school fighting. We was talking about a couple of months ago the girl that hit the girl over the head with the baton.
Right.
This is not a part of sports. So that
Maybe the wrong sport.
yeah, that anger, yeah, it's part of boxing, I guess. Roll it.
MMA.
Yeah, but that anger, it translates, and people are watching that. So I think that yeah, Kaylin Clark is sticking up for her teammate who took some punches for her, and she probably does get hit around. She takes a lot. That don't mean that she got to do it back, or nobody should be doing it in the first place. Let's just
That's
play this game straight up.
that's understandable, and like this is a question that what you're saying is very understandable, and that was a question that I've had probably for the like past 2 years, and I still have not been able to answer, and I'm gonna tell you why. Like I've gone to older coaches and just tried to get their philosophy on that, and I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm still figuring it out. I don't know if it's situation dependent, but I mean, excuse me, but I mean like I've been in 3 situations this year. No, like one of them was an all out fight. One of them was punches thrown. Both of those situations was in house, and then one of the situations was another coach, came at me aggressively, and I was cool about it. But at the end of the day, we men. So if somebody come in my space, I'm gonna have to defend myself. So with all of that being said, I have to like, I guess, take a step back and just ask myself, like, you know, do I even need like a protocol, or is it just situation based? Because I'm telling you, like, so man, like this was probably the craziest moment all year. We was actually having our last open gym, before school let out, and like I'm talking like two very talented guys. Like I'm not finna say no names, but like two guys super duper talented, but they had like some beef that actually was stemming from some off the court stuff. And like I'm actually on the court playing with them. I ended up picking up one of them, like, let's rock out. And I just remember like he went to the rim, got fouled, they talking, they was at each other, and I just remember looking at them like, man, they cool, they not finna do nothing. Cause that's what we do as guys. Like it happens all the time, but like I said, it was some stuff that was going on off the court that we had no idea. nobody had no idea about. So, all right, get the ball back, and I'm sorry, the first possession he off the heezy him, like threw it off his forehead, and then second rip, boom, got fouled, and I remember, I was looking out the corner of my eye, and then one of the guys just turned around and he hit him like with all his might. And mind you, I watched the situation on camera, like we had to look at the footage or whatever. And like I just remember it happened so fast and I had to get in between them. And then as everything played out, like some people were shocked because like there's other guys in the gym that might have looked up to them. They in shock and we trying to keep them separate. And like one of his homies that played in college like was there, so he jumped in. It was like it was a situation where it was like really chaotic and it got to the point where like, you know, I was just trying to talk to my mans and tell him like you got way too much to lose. Like I'm talking NIL money, like big NIL money, like way too much to lose. So like when it comes to them type of altercations, they happen. Like of course, in a perfect world, they don't happen. And it was like it was a letdown that we didn't get to finish the open gym. Like we ended on a sour note. But like on the flip side, that's just me, I guess, being a realist and asking myself like how do I handle those situations? Because when I found out about the underlying cause, it's like, hey, I can't. It's hard for it's. I'm a player's coach, so it's hard for me to take the angle of like you can't, you shouldn't, when we all human at the end of the day. So I could say, hey, bro, like I think this is what you should do. However, this is how you played it. This is what happened. So like I'll give you another situation. Like, but this one was a little more. This was funny. Like this was hilarious. It was two guys on the team, and they would talk shit during practice all the time, right? So we got to a point as coaches, we was like, okay, y'all gonna play 1-on-1 before practice, and whoever win, the other person can't talk shit no more. So mind you, we watching them play. They go to 15 ones and twos, and like everybody was watching. Like it was funny until it wasn't funny because like I'm not saying no names, but my man's that lost, like I rock with both of them. I don't have no favorites. Like I rock with both of them. But the way he responded, like, the other dude started talking shit to him because he really wasn't the instigator. He was the one that was always on the receiving end. So he beat him and he taunted him after he did it. And that's when punches were thrown and like I had to take a step back and just like examine myself as a coach. Like I didn't think it would get to that, but it did because he lost his cool. The other kid lost his cool. And I had to like separate them. And I just remember like being over his family crib for Thanksgiving and like talking with his dad. And I could tell like by the way his dad was talking that his dad knew what happened, but we never had a chance to really like put it on the table and address it. So I was kind of looking at myself as a professional, like, man, like I don't want to condone fighting, like, but I mean, that's a reality. The third situation, I'm not even gonna get too deep in the third situation. The third situation was somebody being upset they lost. So yeah. But anyway, that's that's where I'm at with that. Like I'm just trying to figure that out.
So what you saying it is, it's more situation. But I, when you a coach and you in those, that's different from it happening to you. You responded, and then when you kind of responsible, I think that you did the right thing. When you're the responsible coach or you're the one in charge here, and you're leading these young guys or young people, it just got to be different from like maybe how you will handle it personally, because this could be their future. I don't know. You was right in telling that young man like you got a lot to lose here.
And honestly, not to cut you off, but like honest, if I'm gonna be honest with you, I seen it as a player like we fought, like, and you done told me those stories that you told me. So like instead of y'all fighting like bare knuckles, go get in the gloves. Like I would, that's what I would do. Like I would get boxing gloves for my guys, and it's like if y'all feel that, like if y'all feel that heated, go get in the gloves, and then after that, y'all have respect for each other.
Yeah.
But hey, I don't know. I could be wrong with that. I could be dead wrong with that. I don't know.
Well, I think we know that sports it can get heated, and these you can be the best of friends with somebody, And that don't mean that in the heat of the moment things ain't gonna be said or things not gonna happen. So if y'all can find a healthy way to exercise this or get this out, as long as it's a healthy way and it don't hurt somebody's, opportunity to play the next game or their future. I think now
Right.
it's just such a spotlight on everything that people do. Things were hidden before, but when it comes to sports, we can hear about it instantly, you know? And that I'm gonna ask you this question. When you have it could be your daughter or your son in sports, what is one of the biggest things that you gonna encourage them? Like, and it could be through your experience, but what is one of the biggest lessons that you gonna keep harping on until they get this?
Ooh, that's a very good question. Um, wow, that's an excellent question. It might be two things. I think they go hand in hand. Um, you gotta be tough. Like, you're gonna have storms, you know what I'm saying? Your own personal storms, your own battles. I think I mean, I made my Instagram handle maybe about 9 or 8 years ago based off of that. Storm with a seven. I mean, God give you the storms that, you know what I'm saying, you need. And they come, like, you got to be ready for that. But they make you um, a more polished version. Like, gold is my favorite color. So I'm definitely going to, like, use that in explaining that to, let's say, my daughter or my son. Like, you have to go through the fire in order to come out as gold just so that they can get through them tough times. But I think the other side of it is that you're good. Like, you're okay. Like, it's never as bad as you think it is. And then it's never as great as you think it is. Like, I'm a very, I guess, I wouldn't say excitable, but I don't want to say I could be volatile, but I can have my moments where I'm loud. I got my moments where I'm quiet. I can have my moments where I'm up, when I'm down. We all have our moments, right? But I would just express that, like, you just gotta try to stay as even as you can, because the way God work and the way things are, like, everything is built upon each other. So you might think something is bad, but it's really working for the better. So you got to count it all joy in trials and tribulations and storms, because it's working for the better.
But let me ask you this. Is your conversation, and I think me and Deasia touched on this in a previous episode, but I'm gonna ask you, is your conversation different for your son and daughter? Or does it come a point when it is different? And it don't just have to be sports. It could just be whatever they're after, whatever, they are pursuing. Is that conversation different or are you gonna be the same?
No, that conversation is not different, and I'm gonna tell you why. So my hopes is that it's a two-parent house, right? Like how they were saying with TJ McConnell, like, oh, dad was different on my sister, da da da. Like, I'm going to keep the same message. I think my tone and my delivery might be a little different, but I'm going to be consistent with that. And then whatever message or whatever, like, I guess, teaching point that my partner or my wife is giving, that's going to be that. I'm not going to try to compensate, you know what I'm saying? Because, oh, like, this is a female. So that's my stance. And I got to flip both of those questions back to you. Like, how would you go about that? Like, what are you trying to teach?
What I'm trying to teach, and it could be sports. And I think we've been talking about this whole conversation. A part of that is like sports. It's just something that you do. I want them to know that from the very beginning. Like, you choosing this, but this is not everything. I think it took me too long to learn that, and it was just a lot that I missed out on. So I don't want them to miss out on anything, whether that's sports, just being a child, being, growing up. I don't want them to miss that for something else. I want them to go hard, but don't miss out on this because it's not everything. So that's the biggest thing to me. Because I just don't want them to have to go through that way. It took me almost 20 years to learn this. I don't want them to have to face that. More than anything, be great sportsmen in the sport. I want them to carry that where their character precedes them. It's not how good they play or whatever they're doing. I want them to just be good people.
Yeah, I feel exactly where you're coming from. It's just being being stand up in your character because your character follows you. So, and that's a part of like, I mean, you as a coach, myself as a coach, we both see that. You know what I'm saying? It's bigger than just the outcome and wins and losses. I think the thing that I've seen the biggest is just the relationships. Like you gain so many relationships and so many doors open up. And of course we all want to win, but you gotta be able to lose too. So if you can't lose, you can't learn.
Yeah, I agree. Let me kind of ask you that, and that'll be my last question before I do something a little fun to end us. It's this conversation out there for young athletes, and it's more so for football, how they start so early. Do you think some sports it's this type of culture where some kids are being pushed too early?
Oh, for sure. For sure. Like just look at AAU for an example. Like I think the ideal age for AAU would probably be like maybe sixth grade, maybe sixth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth. Because you can get crazy, and I think like when you talk about third grade, fourth grade, like I just sometimes think it can be a little over the top. Because I seen a video and it was like some shorties. They had to be in third, fourth grade, but they was capping, and they looked like they was 17, 18 out there, and they very impressionable. So I definitely think that parents sometimes push them because they know that like it is a competition, like it is other kids that's competing for the same scholarships and attention, but some of it, is at the cost of like, their childhood. Some of it is at the cost of them, developing in a different way. So I could say so. I definitely could say so.
Yeah, I think my opinion of it, when you in it, you want to do it, but then when you look back, was it worth it? That's kind of like how I look at it, and that's for me. It could be somebody else that wouldn't change anything, but I know being on that AAU stage for a while, and that's in basketball and track, I did miss out on a lot. And some of it might not be worth it. And that's just for sports that not really that it's not really that physical in comparison to others. Imagine if you're boxing at like the age of 6 and you keep getting hit around your head, or you playing football with a helmet since like 6 or 7. That's a long time. So it's like, is it worth it? When you got so many more years behind you of maybe not playing a sport. I think it's different. It depends on who you ask, but that's just my opinion of it. I think that it is an age when it's appropriate, and some ages it's just not appropriate. It's more about the parents, to be honest, than it is the child.
That's a fact. Parents be trying to live through their kids. That's a fact.
And it's like, are they really developing? And I'm, as a coach, in your expert opinion, Dominique, do you see that if you 7 and 8 and you playing that many games over the course of a year, do you see a lot of the development opposed to as if you would have just been practicing and then wait to get on your competitive stage, maybe like 10 or 11 or 12? Do you think that the development is like it's worth it?
I think you got to go about it a little bit different. Like, I like the ideas of like how certain park districts and like recreation centers have like open leagues, and like that is a perfect example of like still being able to showcase your talent, and then it still being fun and still being a really good environment. I think you do have trainers that could help that age bracket like grow. Like I got homies. Shout out my boy Fish Elite. I mean, you got trainers that could definitely get them right, but I think when you just throw them in that competitive fire and now they playing all these games, like, yeah, don't get me wrong, they're young, but still the wear and tear on the body. Like, then it becomes a thing of, okay, well, I'm supposed to be doing this up all the way until I'm 18, 19. And, this year we had a record number of Achilles tears. And I mean, yes, the game is different. It's a quicker pace. You can kind of look at that attribution, but also think about wear and tear. Like Achilles injuries was supposed to be like an injury for like 40, 50-year-olds. no disrespect to any like 40, 50-year-olds, you know what I'm saying? But you're in your middle 20s, you in your 20s, just let me just say that you're a pro athlete in your 20s and we got all these Achilles tears. Like, I think some of that is just like overload over time. So I do think it could be different. I think it could be more skills oriented, and I could attest to that because I've had a conversation with um a couple. One of the kids, came over from Portugal, and they was questioning like, well, why isn't it a case where guys are like, doing more skill work? Why is it more like open gym at the end of the season? And the answer was that, we're trying to prepare our players to be able to, play with any and everybody because that's how the game is now. But from their perspective, especially overseas, they do a lot of practice. Like they just practice. They're not worried about playing so much. So I think I like the way the game is developed overseas. I'm gonna be honest with you. Um, I'm not gonna say America is the pits, but I think when you get some exposure, just like everybody trying to come over to America, I think when Americans get exposed to how things are done in different countries, like I done talked to guys from Germany, coaches I done worked with closely all year and played all overseas, but predominantly in the B League in Japan. Like the game is just completely different. So I think it'll be different for sure.
So, Dominique, I'm going to ask you these questions. Let's get back into OKC. I'm going to ask you, and I'm just going to kind of be an opposer here because you mentioned, and Shea did have a historical season in himself. He won the league MVP, finals MVP. He won a championship. But do you think he deserved to win the finals MVP? Was
Absolutely. What are we? Absolutely.
okay, break that down.
Absolutely. Let's talk game four. I mean, OKC not in that position, like we said. Indy up 2-1. Shea had a crazy fourth quarter. He got to the line. Um, Game five, I think Jalen Williams was able to step up because it was so much attention on Shea. And like what Dagnall did, they started going like 1-2 pick and roll. So like it really opened up the floor for J Dub. So I'm going SGA. Like SGA was, the most consistent all year. And I felt like in that final series, like there was times where OKC really needed a bucket. Like they needed a bucket, and you can give it to SGA and he'll go get one. If let's just say they had a player maybe a tier under SGA's caliber, they would have been seriously in trouble. So I think SGA deserved it by far.
Okay, now, if Denver gets past them, is Jokic the league MVP? Denver.
No, he's not. No. MVP is a regular season award. SGA earned that. He earned that by how he played in the regular season. I think that the league was just, I guess, trying to be strategic as far as when they gave the award and like letting the series play out before they, gave it to him. Because I remember, guys getting the award in the second round at home. But, it's ironic that he facing Jokic. But I was saying this all year. SGA played both ways. Like Jokic low key as a cone. And it was so many possessions where I used to watch. So many possessions I watched in that Oklahoma Denver series where like Jokic was being taken advantage of. And he's so great offensively, but defensively, like he not gonna give you much. And even that year when they won, I think Denver ranked 15th or 14th as far as like defensive rating, and they was like the outlier out of all of the champions of this decade. So I'm still gonna say Shea. I said Shea last year. I'm gonna be honest with you, and I'm taking all the like bias out of it. Like this year, I really do think Shea had the better run.
I'm just saying that I gotta throw that out there because Jokic did have some huge numbers. He was going 50 and 20 and 10 or something like that for back to back games. I think he had a great season, but you highlighted the regular season. He missed some games there. Plus, Denver, they did lose. Maybe they was just trying to wait. I I think that they also was trying to give it to us as well because Jokic had been winning so many times. It could have been that, but yeah, I think Shea had an awesome season. So let me ask you this. What do you think Jalen Williams? Can you see him staying with OKC for the next? You said he maybe just re-signed, but do you see him sticking out this dynasty, or do you see him like doing what Harden did?
Well, let me clarify. So you got J Dub and J Will. They re-signed J Will. J Will is like the center with the dreads, but like J Dub,
Yeah, that's what
that
I'm talking about.
I could see J Dub staying for sure. Like the chemistry is there. Like it's one thing if they won and it's like okay, whatever, but the chemistry is there. And like I just remember, watching like what he posted on social media. He kept the receipts. Like he cared about making a name for OKC. So I could definitely see him staying for sure.
So you don't see this going the way that, I mean, because if we look back almost 10 years ago, when Harden had the opportunity to stick it out, he left.
Him and Harden are two different. I think they two different players and two different guys. Harden could have stayed. He could have took a pay cut. He didn't want to take a pay cut. Presti traded him. I think this go round, Presti learned from his mistake. I don't think he's gonna be so quick to trade, key players. And at the end of the day, Harden, I've never seen as much as I love James Harden, I never seen Harden really step up in the finals or, in a crucial game 7. We saw what J Dub did. So that's why I say that.
Yeah, I'm just asking these questions because these are comparisons that I'm making in my mind. Like we could have seen, I if Harden would have stayed on that team, I think they win a championship. KD, Harden, and Westbrook, they win a championship together. They was that close. If they would have just stuck it out 1 or 2 more years, even as the big threes was growing around the league, I think that they had one. After that, you see Westbrook go on to an MVP year. Then you see James Harden with an MVP year. KD had an MVP year. It just didn't make sense. So I'm just asking, like, is this where this team is going?
Negative. It's funny because like I remember they was up 3-1 against Minnesota, and one of the posts on the internet was like, "It's not gonna be 2016. It's not gonna be 2016." He was supposed to be Bobby Hill meditating with an OKC jersey on, and like it's different. Like I just don't see that happening. Like it was crazy how that played out. I think Sam Presti learned from his mistake because of course he was trying to make a business decision, but I don't see it happening. And people say, "Oh well, OKC path, and they had to play at Memphis without Ja," and you know, I mean, you could look at the Pacers, like they had injuries in that path too. So it's gonna take a little luck. Don't get me wrong, but honestly, like OKC was the best team all year, so it'd be foolish not to look at them to win again. So. And you got a rookie that's coming in off of ACL injury. He was a lottery pick last year. You got a rookie coming in, and they gonna be better. They definitely got better defensively in the draft. They just drafted my man's from Georgetown, 6'10", long shot blocker. Like the rich get richer, so it's only up.
I like how you say that, but I think for me, the biggest thing that I learned about this NBA season, and you kind of mentioned it before, like some ratings, people are saying ratings are sliding, all of this. But I think this NBA season just was, if I'm going to tag it with one word, it's just exposed. And that's from how the back office, front office, whatever you want to call it, how the organizations operate. And then just you it's clear as day like what some players are about, and then
Mm,
where some teams are headed. Even if just with these NBA trades and the NBA draft, these moves are being made, and it's still, we got over 100 something days for the next season, 120 days for the next season to start. So it's really like they never took their foot off necks, some of these organizations, but it's like a sleeping giant with others. So I think a lot of things just got exposed, and I don't see it turning back no time soon. With just how coaches, they don't have no loyalty to a coach. They'll get rid of them. Players are being traded for nothing. If me and DH was just talking about that Cavs trade with Lonzo Ball, that was for nothing.
I know.
Everything is just like they don't really care. Everything is being exposed. But how would you recap this season?
Um, I think that the play-in, like, okay, we second year to play-in. I think the play-in, decent idea. And then the in cup, like the in cup, decent. I think All Star Weekend, whew, what Charles Barkley was saying, terrible, like bad. So they got to definitely revamp that. I like the idea of one-on-ones, but if we talking like the playoffs or just like the level of competitiveness, like I liked it this year. I definitely did. Um, I really thought Cleveland was gonna be like a problem, but I think Cleveland ended up, having some injuries. I never was scared of Boston. Like I watched OKC and Boston in OKC, like never had any fear with Boston. Um, I think the Luka trade was very interesting. I think that the league had their hand on that. So neither here nor there. But obviously, like every season is different, and you can't have expectations. Like when people was expecting Kobe and LeBron to meet up, and then LeBron got bounced by Orlando. Like I didn't have, I guess, too many expectations other than like OKC 2025, and they won. So yeah.
All right, Dominique. For listeners, just give us a recap of where, like, what are you doing personally in this world of basketball? Just talk about that one more time. Of how you have your hand in this game, and like what's the thing that you want to leave behind as far as what you're doing, coaching, playing. Tell me more
Man,
about that.
man, I just think that I've been blessed to be where I'm at now, and I want to try to like just plant the seed, like the way God work in two, three, four generations. So I feel like I'm trying to give everything that I didn't have. I feel like I'm a pretty confident individual, so I want people to be confident in who they are, and I think it's bigger than just the X's and O's. I try to bring like the approach with people that like your care, like I care about you, and when you have that relationship, everything else is like just I don't want to say smooth sailing, but you can connect with somebody. So that's probably been the biggest thing. Like I've been blessed to just make a lot of relationships, especially like coming to North Carolina and just being on the East Coast. So I'm just excited to make some more relationships when I go to Missouri and coach on a college level for sure.
And tell us the conference again that Culver is in. Um,
The Heartland Conference.
okay.
Heartland is D2. Um, you got 15 teams. They just added another school in there, but you got 15 teams. It's good basketball. One of the I guess most known teams is William Penn. A lot of D1 guys they try to transfer out and go to William Penn. And it's funny I had an opportunity to coach there last year, but I know a little bit about their program, so I was like, nah, I'm cool. So it's gonna be some high level talent I'm gonna be able to coach against, and be able to just go across the country and just understand the game a little bit different and coach on that level. So I'm ready for the challenge.
And then one final thing: what is the landscape of basketball on the East Coast in North Carolina, or uh, Missouri? That's kind of coming back towards the Midwest. But what is the difference between your roots in Chicago versus where you're at or where you're headed?
The game is it's funny you asked that. The game is definitely played different everywhere. And I was actually like when I was in Missouri at Culver, um, this was before it was official, but I was there and me and Hobbs we was talking to a recruit and his parents was kind of opening up about that because he was from Indiana. And I mean I've realized that even being in Atlanta at a point in time, um, I think every culture has its own heartbeat. So, as players we kind of take that on the court. And I think with North Carolina, I mean, North Carolina technically is the hoop state. So I'm always have pride in Chicago and Illinois. But I also think North Carolina has a beautiful basketball scene. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And I think AAU and like just travel basketball it was definitely different in the coverage. The coverage is a little bit different. Like, working with Phenom and getting a chance to just see the layout. Um, I think that I just think the game is played different here. I'm trying to find the words of describing it, but it's definitely different. I think when I flew home and I kind of like took the time during the season to watch my old school play back in Chicago, like just watching the game, I had to adjust my eyes. Like I don't want to say it was a little bit slower, but it was a little more calculated. Like it was, I felt like it was calculated for sure. I think here in North Carolina, the way the game is played, like you got to be able to shoot the ball. Like you absolutely have to be able to shoot the ball in high school and the prep level. And I think, I don't know, it was just a different pace. I would just say that I could definitely see a different pace.
Dominique, we thank you so much for coming on our show. It's been great having you and all the support to what you
My pleasure.
in basketball as a coach, just as a young ambassador for this game. I think that your insight, like you could tell that you study the game, that your passion, it comes out just as we having these conversations. So I appreciate that. And we want to have you back. Let's
I would definitely be honored to come back for sure. But I gotta come back with some W's, be able to talk about, what it looked like on the college level. So I appreciate it.
yeah. Well, this is nothing lightly. Follow us on TikTok, follow us on YouTube, listen to us wherever you get your podcast. Thank you for having us and thank you for joining us for this conversation.